Hello friends, Tanya here for Spellbinders, and this is day 13 of the Spellbinders 2023 Crafty Advent Calendar. I have been enjoying this Advent calendar. I hope you have been too. Let's see what day 13 is going to bring us. It is a little stamp set. We're going to stamp these out on an A2 size piece of cardstock in the Mini Misty with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. We have 4 sentiments here. They say, happy birthday, have an amazing day, I'm glad you were born, and to someone special. Now we're going to pull out one of the house mouse designs. This came out in December. This one is called Snuggle Up. It's got these 2 adorable mice sitting on a stump wrapped in a leaf. Now this is a red rubber cling stamp. I did have to take the foam mat out of my Mini Misty before I started stamping. I also have a piece of the new Spellbinders watercolor paper. It is gorgeous. It performs beautifully. It comes in packs of 10 count, 8.5 by 11, and 25 packs. This is my Magello Mission Gold watercolor palette. This is the bulletproof palette. It is ginormous. I have taken all of the colors and swatched them out, and I wrote little numbers for reference on the palette so I could figure out which color was which when I was deciding what I wanted to use. Now I mixed a couple of colors here to get kind of a mousy flesh tone, a brown and a red. And I'm using that to paint the faces, the feet, the tail, and the ears of these cute little mice. Now, I did have way too much water in my brush with the paint, but I only mixed a very small amount on my palette to create this because I didn't need much. So instead of sopping up some of the water and paint out of my brush on a dry towel, here I'm going to show you what color I'm going to paint the top of the stump. But then I think about what color should I use. I used a vermilion. You can see here that as it washes out, it becomes kind of a fleshy tone. And I used this raw umber, and I combined those in small quantities to create the color that I used for the face, ears, feet, and tail. Now I am using my paintbrush to pick up the extra paint on the areas that have way too much water paint mixture on them, and then moving that around to the places that I do need it. I tried to add a little brown on the nose. I didn't like how that turned out, so I just used my dry towel, washcloth, whatever you want to call it, my rag, to pick that up, and it actually lightened the whole area in a way that I liked. Now we're using that same that color that I pointed out earlier to do the top of the stump. I was trying to go for a light wood tone because the inside of a tree is generally lighter than the bark on the outside, and that was too yellow, so I went back and I added more of a brown tone over the top. This is going to mix to make a better color in my mind. And you can do all kinds of adapting with watercolors. You can layer, you can take paint off, especially if it's a non-staining paint. Sometimes it's important to understand all of the properties of your watercolors, and there are a lot of different properties when it comes to watercolors. They're a very versatile art tool. Or art medium. I really enjoy watercolor because it is so adaptable. You can mix colors endlessly in very small quantities if you like. You can glaze with it. You can, if you don't like the result, it's fairly easy to correct it. It has a bit of a carefree, freeform attitude towards it, quality to it. I really enjoy it's working with it. It's not entirely predictable, and sometimes that's a good thing. I'm using lots of flicking motions on the edges of the little mice here to get that furry look. And the artist has really helped with the shading and stippling to let you know where the darker areas should be. This makes these images very easy to color. I had a lot of fun with these cute little mice. It's predominantly browns that you're using. There's going to be some other colors here in the leaf, and I chose to go with a fairly neutral season color. I love this dark brown for the bark, and I actually didn't have to do any other colors on top of it. Just by doing heavier and lighter applications of the watercolor, this turned out just the way I wanted it to turn out. I have to be honest, I held off getting the house mouse stamps for a long time and finally decided that I thought I should give them a whirl, and I really like them. I tend to forget just how amazing red rubber stamps are until I start using them again. They do have the best detail. They are the easiest to stamp with. My biggest problem is my latex allergy, which can make red rubber stamps a little tough because it will set it off. Latex and rubber are the same thing. It's a natural product. And allergies are based on a protein that your body has identified falsely as a threat and has that allergic reaction response. Well, cured rubber tends to not bother me as much. And when I say cured, I mean if I've used a rubber stamp a few times and it kind of develops its own coating and it doesn't release as much of the aromatic part of the rubber, which is good. So red rubber stamps can make me cough a whole lot more than normal. That being said, this stamp set did not really set off my asthma, which is awesome. There must be something slightly different in how they processed them, or maybe I was on enough allergy meds. Okay, enough about my silly health problems. I did use a couple of different greens for our leaf, and I was really using the artist guided shaded clues with the stippling and the shading. Now I did take a risk. I put this back in my MISTI. I didn't move anything, made sure before I started that I stamped this completely, or I pushed the paper completely in the corner. So I reloaded this image back in the mini MISTI, and I'm using some versified Claire Nocturne ink this time. The first time I used the Hero Arts Intense Black, which is watercolor safe. Now we're going to, no I didn't, I used versified both times. This is the Starburst foiling plate. I used some blush foil on craft cardstock. I pulled out this Autumn Seals Sprigs, and I'm taking the two leaves. I die cut those from some green cardstocks that I had spritzed with some mica stain spray. Now we're going to take those sentiments from the advent calendar, and we're going to stamp 3 of them. We're going to use 2 on the front and 1 on the inside of the card. Now, I had foiled a bunch of different backgrounds on a previous video. If you want to see those, go back to I can't remember which day. Well, go back and check it out. You'll see that I used a whole bunch of different foiling plates on some of my previous videos. Sorry, I can't be more specific. I'll try to link it in the description box below. I'm just using VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. I am not using a ton of pressure. I would rather repeat my stamping than push really hard to make sure I get a good stamping. Otherwise, you can lose some of the detail, especially in sentiment stamps. I'm using some clear embossing powder that I just keep in this tub. It's a mixture of different brands. This is not my favorite kinds. This is just when I want to seal in pigment ink, and I use it a lot for sentiments. Now that I have those heat set and they're nice and raised and shiny, we're going to take the banner die from yesterday's advent calendar. That would have been day 12, I think. No, not yesterday's. This was a couple days back. My days are mixing together. It would have been day 11 maybe. I used just the banner portion to die cut out our sentiment, the large sentiment, and then I used a sentiment die from one of the Glimmer sentiment die sets. Sorry, Glimmer and die sets from probably a year ago. Now I did use my brother's Scan and Cut to cut out our cute little image, and I think it actually worked better to cut it out after it was colored. I think it had an easier time recognizing the entire image. And I've been using some pixie spray on my brother's Scan and Cut matte because it's just not very sticky anymore. And those mats are really expensive to replace if you're only doing it because of the adhesive. Now I'm going to tuck our little leaves in behind our cute little mice. These are actually smaller in scale than the leaf that they have wrapped around themselves, but I think they work very nicely. The darker green, I think, is sprayed with balsam. One of the distress mica stains from the Christmas series from last year, probably, from Tim Holtz. And then the lighter green is a lighter green cardstock sprayed with the spring green spray from Hero Arts. These were in my Rainbow of Paper Scraps file. I have a section that is specifically for mica stain sprayed papers, and it's just a whole bunch of different pieces. Now I have a scrap of this Glimmer foiled craft cardstock. I have recently fallen in love with the blush foil. How did that happen? Well, I was digging through I have a drawer of extra foils, and the foils I'm currently using are on the really neat Spellbinders foil organizing racks that you can purchase. Anyway, I was digging through my extras looking to see if I had more of the polished brass foil, and I found, I am not kidding you, 6 rolls of the blush foil. I've been a part of the Glimmer of the Month club since it started, so I have been getting a roll of foil every single month for however long the foil's been out. Oh, I talked right through it. I put the same image on the inside of the card. I stamped it with antique linen, Distress Oxide, which always stamps beautifully. And I used a stamp, what was it called? I can't even, Stamparatus maybe? It's an old Stampin' Up platform. They don't even carry it anymore, but it's open on 2 sides. There are some other models that do the same. I used some Peach Aura Opalescent sequins to add a little finishing touch to these, and here it is. I love this card. This turned out so amazing. I'm going to have to pet this for a little while. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, take a moment and do that now. Check that description box below for all of the product that I used today. Leave me a comment. I love to hear what you have to say, even if I don't have time to respond to it. I will be back tomorrow with another video, and until then, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.